Greetings, this is Professor Popley with the Week 5 video lecture. I'm not going to lecture about SWOT analysis because there is a good video at Mind Tools that really discusses how to do a SWOT analysis, and I know you'll be working on that in your discussion board this week. I just want to talk about a couple aspects of internal analysis that you should be conscious of as you work through strategic planning. The concept I want to talk about today is distinctive competencies. What does it mean to have a competency? It means a strength that allows a company to differentiate its product or achieve lower costs than its rivals. And it usually arises from resources that the company has and specific capabilities that the company has that are unique. So this is a component, again, of competitive advantage. In terms of resources, what we're talking about is the assets that a company owns. Those might be in the form of land, buildings, inventory, cash on hand. It may be the intangibles as well, such as a brand name or a reputation or intellectual property that the company controls. Those would be components of distinctive competencies, and they would also be areas that might be on in the strengths analysis portion of your SWOT. Capabilities has to do with skills that the company has, usually in the form of its processes or its people. It can be the processes that the organization uses to get things done, such as the rules, routines, or procedures. Just the attitude, say the how Google has a specific approach to how the people operate within the company, and other intangible competencies from the background of the company. So who they hire, how they train and prepare their people, what kind of talent they bring into the company. So in order to have a distinctive competency, a company must have either firm-specific and valuable resources and the capabilities and advantage of that resource, or firm-specific capability to manage that resource. Obviously, competency is strongest when a company possesses both. So you might look at, say, a company such as Apple. Firm-specific and valuable resources, the know-how and technology behind Apple, the intellectual property of how to put together an Apple product, plus the capabilities, the way the company is organized internally in order to take advantage of that resource, allows them to maintain a distinctive competency and therefore a strength. Obviously, core competencies and distinctive competencies are a great barrier to imitation. A company that has a competitive advantage can lose that competitive advantage if another business is able to imitate it. So, for instance, the iPhone was dominant in the market, and Samsung came along and created a product that was comparable, although not exactly the same, but imitated many of the features of the Apple product. So the extent to which a business can make it difficult for others to imitate them can help them maintain their competitive advantage. So the greater the barrier, the more sustainable the company's competitive advantage. The barriers to imitation, the tangible resources are the easiest to imitate, to be able to acquire the technology, to be able to create the facilities, even to be able to get the components of a product, allows someone to imitate. But the intangibles are much, much harder to imitate. How do you really imitate someone else's brand identity. That's something that tends to be very difficult to imitate, although of course we are all aware of people who do knockoffs, that is illegal brand acquisition. But on a legal basis, on a business basis, brands are very difficult to imitate. The marketing and technical know-how is also, and the skills of people is also very difficult to acquire. In fact, to be able to hire people away from another company in order to imitate that company's success strategy is something that is attempted and often discouraged by the leaders of a company. And so those are some of the most important ways that a company can limit the ability of others to imitate. So you want to do things that are, you want to make sure you're exploiting what is deep in the DNA of the business. So it's going to be very hard for someone to imitate Google. Google has a very unique culture, very unique way of doing things, and although many companies aspire to it, it's very hard for anyone to get access to all the internal operating routes and procedures of a company and how the individuals interact. So thank you. That is this week's lecture. Looking forward to seeing your work this week on internal analysis.